Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, Alan 4G, and welcome to the stream. This is obviously not something that's very common for me. I enjoy a plethora of hobbies at a high competitive level. This would be the first Champions or VGC video I've ever made on this channel, so thanks for tuning in. I've obviously been playing Showdown since Generation 4 during mid high school onward. After Generation 4, I skipped Gen 5. I'm not gonna lie, I skipped 5 through 8, right, in terms of playing competitive 6v6 singles. And then I started playing in Generation 9, and honestly, Generation 9 was probably the generation in which I learned the most about competitive VGC. I don't think I had played doubles till that point, at least as seriously. I got pretty creative on the ladder. So here we are today in Pokemon Champions. All right. I had a pretty unique Masters run in comparison to probably most of the meta game. Charizard Y was extremely dominant alongside like a Chlorophyll, Venusaur, etc. Sand teams were more prevalent, and now they're a little bit less prevalent, or they're a very particular answer to something. There are full stall stand teams that still pop up every now and then, like ones that are anchoring Mega Steelix or some type of body press win condition. As you can see, my player profile, right? I hit Masters. I hit Masters about a couple weeks ago, and then I kind of just stopped there because, as a working adult, there's no way you're going to be able to sustainably play. Even though I'm very confident in my ability to climb to champions, I'm probably going to go for it some other season. Right now, it's kind of the meta game has kind of staled out a little bit. There has been no new Pokemon added, no new items added. I'm gonna be realistic with my time. I enjoy other things. I like playing competitive CDH Magic, for example. I like playing other competitive games. I don't put all my eggs into one basket. I'm right as a working class individual. I definitely do not have like the time to like these streamers to like hit Masters day one. It typically takes me like 3 days to do it. So these are the three teams that I used to climb the Masters. It's not typically what you would expect, but it's not something that throws you off completely either, right? You see the Archaludon here. You see the Charizard Y pick, and you see maybe more common things as you climb the ladder, like Caesar or Sableye. Talonflame being a priority Tailwind user, which has been supplemental to answer some of these Aerodactyl teams. So team one, like you see Mega Meganium, Archaludon, Greninja, Meowstic, Mimikyu, and Talonflame. So a common theme that you're going to see on every single one of these teams is type of speed control, right? And honestly, for me in particular, I just got tired of playing inside Trick Room. I have Trick Room setters. I typically am not going for a Trick Room strategy. I'm typically trying to one-shot the Trick Room user, or at least like be able to like protect stall and try to pivot on that crucial fifth turn. It's typically the way I've been playing this game. I have not been like making sure I have one pick that's particularly good in Trick Room, because it's very hard to predict exactly what your opponent is going to turn. It's more so you should just have a versatile offensive breaker. You should have breakers, and you should have your sustained damage, right? Your sustained tanks. Let's dive deep into this team one composition, shall we? I have Mega Meganium here. I have Mega Greninja here as my two breakers. I have Mimikyu as my support setup, but crucially, I'm not running Trick Room. I'm running Charm, which actually is super clutch right now, especially with all of these are physically potent starts that people are trying to like break you with. A lot of Garchomps that are trying to outspeed you are just trying to click Rock Slide. And so Charm comes in handy. So you can essentially charm the Garchomp and then kill it with something else. You can charm the Aerodactyl and then kill it with something else, right? Or you yourself as Mimikyu can just run Fairy Feather and play rough. We got my David Archuleta right here in tribute of the great David Archuleta. If anybody knows what he's done with his career, please tell me, because I have not tracked that man since 2005. A Meowstic for support. Rain Dance setters. This is a very common thing that you're going to see. It's just Rain Dance setters on random psychic types. You're going to see it on Sableye most of the time, because Armor Tail is such a fantastic ability. People think that you're going to go in a Trick Room, and so as long as you have a bulky set, most of the time Rigarath is going to survive a lot of things just to set up that rain synergy for, say, like Blastoise Water Spout. You'll see the fake out come out from the Blastoise so that they can safely set up the rain and then the Water Spout after. Or just the threat of setting Trick Room in general scares people, right? So people typically double up into the Farigarath. Most of your compositions are going to look like 3 support-ish Mons, really 2 hard supports, one flex, two breakers, and then one tank. In terms of items, you see the fairy feather on the Mimikyu, like I said, is to enhance play rough. Not one shot, but at least get crucial picks, Garchomp, the Dragonite into two shot range with anything. It doesn't have to be super effective because the Mimikyu has a decent amount of damage behind it. Our Chaladon on the Citrus Berry, because we're going fast, we don't really give a shit about the rain. You're gonna see this very common like weather battling where it's like the rain, like you're setting rain to counter their weather, not necessarily because weather is your strategy. We got the Focus Sash Meowstic because it's not mega, so it's not sweeping. So you're just here to set up Rain Dance and kind of be a bait. And then Talonflame being our Tailwind setter. It's a special set Talonflame with Charcoal particularly, right, in order to enhance the damage of Heat Wave, right? And then we have our single target Air Slash as our flying type move. I'm going to say this composition in general performed relatively fantastic. I have 18 defense points into our Meganium because we actually want to be able to kind of use body press when we need it into some bad matchups or some questionable matchups that like Meganium kind of struggles with, like particularly like our Chaladon or like maybe opener with an Aerodactyl that isn't running dual wing beat for some reason. It's just a Tailwind setter. So Greninja is my answer to fairies. You'll notice I have two answers to fairy types because fairy types become slightly more common the more you climb. A lot of people like either make it their anchor strategy. They typically don't make it their opener, right? And a lot of people are experimenting with a lot of Whimsicott sets. And so in order to not get Giga Drained to death, what we were doing before is that we were scouting and protecting. A lot of people are fairy anchoring in the end, right? If they fairy anchor at the end, becoming a poison type is very helpful. It's also helpful into the Mega Gengar matchups. Mega Gengar will often use a spread move over trying to Shadow Ball you. Trying to get some of that extra resistance under your belt is nice, especially when you're up against Perish Song. Using super effective Dark Pulse rather than Stab Dark Pulse. But Mega Greninja is pretty fast. Like having the option to be a poison type inside a bulky Perish Trap team is also pretty nice. It's also so that you can beat Primarina, right? Because a lot of people will double up on the Perish Song. They will first Perish Song with the Mega Gengar, and when the Mega Gengar finally gives, then they will Perish Song when you can't switch anymore and you're down to two. Most people run Gengar and Primarina together, if not another Perish Song user, but typically it is those two. Again, a lot of people want to anchor fairies for the late game because they want something to hit the goddamn Archaludon with or the goddamn Garchomp with, right? A lot of people are just like holding their bulky physical sweeper in the back. Like you might see it in the opener and then they'll retreat it and then you'll never see it again. That's how a lot of people are playing nowadays. Pelipper is the most common weather setter in the metagame, right? So if you can get around a wide guard set, then you're typically going to end up, right? So you're going to Ice Beam it, come back, Mega Evolve, and then Hydro Pump if they, like, say they anchor Mega Charizard or something like that. And then you Mouse Stick and Rain Dance, and that's all you got to do. It doesn't even matter if the Meowstic dies. That's why we have Focus Sash Meowstic, particularly, right? Because, yes, Stab Sun Boosted Heat Wave by Mega Charizard Y will kill a Meowstic, right? But we're going to run the Focus Sash on the Meowstic just to make sure that it can Rain Dance, right? Of course, this game plan could fail to double spread, but that's a matter of prediction. Will-O-Wisp still comes up a lot, right? Being able to understand that they have an answer to your Mimikyu, especially when you see Sableye, most of them are just going to try to kill the Mimikyu first. They're going to use the faster Mon in order to pop the disguise and then they're gonna foul play into it, or they're gonna crunch into it. They're gonna do like something in their opening hand is gonna try to like double shot the Mimikyu, right? Because they're assuming that you're gonna trick room, right? So it's like that Farigiraf idea. They're afraid of you like turning the tides on them, so they rather get rid of the trick room setter. And so surprising like a Tyranitar with like a Will-O-Wisp is comes up pretty often. Running Trick Room setters, but not Trick Room itself, is a big mix up in itself, right? That helps you climb very quickly. You're subverting people's expectations, but then you're still making them operate at a similar deficit. So then their pick becomes less confident, right? So if you get that Will-O-Wisp onto the T-Tar and then you charm it right after and you didn't die because like you survived after the disguise, they're probably quick protect, so then you can charm into the other, or you can Will-O-Wisp the other person depending on what typing they are, right? Let them protect on turn 2 after failing to kill the Mimikyu the first turn, and then play roughing turn 3. That's typically how things will go, is that people will start an opener, realize if it fails, they'll hit protect to see if like you make a mistake in terms of switching in, right, or trying to pivot into a different strategy and try to get a second read on you. Turn three is basically when the game actually opens up, right? So turn one, the like higher level players will double protect just to scout for information more often than not, or they'll have a particular fake out strategy that they know is like advantageous into like maybe 55% of the metagame. I'm not gonna lie, fake out sets are a little bit scarier than double protect, but after that protect, like they have to switch, and they have to basically not get predicted based off of their starters that you're going to make the correct decision to just anchor and just one shot whatever is coming in, or they risk dying. Right. A lot of higher level play is just recognizing that the game doesn't actually start till turn two or turn three, right? And to basically try to stay in the driver's seat, try to be unfazed, right? Try to be extremely confident in your predictions in terms of what they're holding in the back, regardless of how much information they're concealing from you. There's only so many strategies that can break a metagame strategy, right? So as long as you're confident in terms of what you're going for, how you're going to stall, right, and how you're going to respond to stall, it's a cascading effect. You're not only getting more information, but you're putting someone as a back foot at the same time. Being versatile with your support mons is pretty important. And there's not really much to say about Talonflame. It's just stab, heat wave, priority, tailwind. I will say Talonflame gets thunderbolted a million% of the time. Protecting for the turn can lead into like them trying to double up to like see if the Talonflame is focus sash, right? So just protect in general is a really good mix up. Raid teams, aside from water stab, right, might not want to click a water move into, say, the Archaludon or the Meganium, right? So they're more than likely going to double up Thunder into the Talonflame and then switch in and answer to like kill the Meganium or the Archaludon. And so these types of synergies or like these types of anti-rain builds are kind of foolproof in a way. And then Greninja's pretty versatile, right? Unless it's a Gengar team or something you know that you can one-shot with Dark Pulse for the most part, Greninja is typically not going to be a lead when you're not running Protect, but if you're running Protect, then you can scout for more information. I rather take Disguise, take a hit, and scout information that way, basically cripple their physical sweeper. But you can also protect Greninja and try to like be faster than everybody else. Like people disguise their trick room strategies pretty well. I don't like that type of ambiguity, so I typically just anchor Greninja more than anything else. So that's kind of why I moved off Protect, because when you Protect, you become a normal type, and that can resist some things, but then it leaves you open to like a close combat by Sneasler, and that's ass. You don't want to ever be in that position where, oh, I have to Mega Evolve and then pray to God I'm faster than Sneasler, you know? You don't want that. But that's pretty much this team. How would I explain this further? Typically, you're going to either go for a Tailwind start or you're going to go for a Meowstic start. The Mimikyu is if they're just going to have physical sweepers, right? If you can tell that they're going for a physical strategy, you bring Mimikyu. If you think their win condition is Dragonite, you bring Mimikyu. And then in all other cases, you're more than likely just going to try to set up Tailwind or try to Rain Dance in order to either fight for the weather or anchor Greninja in the back. You want to see if if they have mixed sets and they have like knockoff and stuff like that. And Meowstic is a good bait, right? Psychic types are pretty weak in the metagame, right? So if you're not using your psychic type for a bait, then you're not really playing high level Pokemon, to be honest. I have my Archaludon trained in a speed nature with 18 points dedicated, so I have it particularly at 135. Here's the important thing about speed tier 135. It's exactly 1 point faster than Mega Floette. So Mega Floette max speed investment is 134. Being at that 135 threshold is pretty good in particular when you're trying to find answers to Mega Floette. So that's why David Archaludon is at 135. A common start is going to be you're going to Talonflame and then like say you predict it's an Aerodactyl, right? So you as a Steel Dragon type, you're gonna resist the Aerodactyl start, right? And you can Flash Cannon into the Aerodactyl. If you start Tailwind and anchor David Archaludon, and then for some reason you protect swap, and then like it's a really good time to bring out like some ground stab, right? Having that flying type earthquake, telepathy earthquake, we all know that to be good, right? If you see like Greninja, Meganium, and Talonflame in particular, they're all special attackers. That's not on accident. You need special attackers in order to flex your ability to fight Archaludon in the end game. It doesn't matter whether or not they have a range strategy. Meganium has Mega Soul. You'll always have the Sun Up, so you can Weather Ball, Solar Beam any other opposing threat. So Weather Ball is pretty good on Meganium because it'll always be a fire type and it'll always hit the steel types. People are trying to like mix you up, like Aegislash, for example. So Aegislash will resist the Dazzling Gleam. It can't be body pressed because it's a ghost type. Well, ghost types can't be body pressed, but you can still Mega Soul fire Weather Ball into everybody, and it'll be a sun boosted Weather Ball because of Mega Soul. That's why we have Weather Ball on Meganium. It's really good into Archaladon, it's really good into Aegislash, it's really good into this other mix up steel type anchors, really good into Mega Aggron, Steelix, etc. Things that Dazzling and Gleam can't really go through, right, is where you want the Weather Ball. Charcoal Heat Wave will one shot a Steelix. Most people try to answer Talonflame with Rotom Heat, right? You'll see a lot of Rotom Heat specifically for people trying to use Talonflame as a Tailwind setter. Protect is really good there. Sometimes they'll try to trick you to take away the charcoal, but that's fine because you have a Greninja on your team. When you call out that someone's going to use Rotom Heat or a Rotom strategy, you just answer it with an appropriate Mega. Your Megas being of opposite type is also very important. Team 2 will be my Leafeon team. This is the actual team that got me my 5-game win streak into Masters. So right here, you're going to see Leafeon, Gallade, Skarmory, Floette, Jolteon, and Mega Charizard Y. Why do I have Mega Charizard Y here with Leafeon over Venusaur? Well, because Venusaur is typing, leave it susceptible to Psy Spam. It will lose to Delphox more often than not. It will lose to the Farigarath. It will lose to Mega Meowstic mix-ups with Trace. While Chlorophyll is nice on Venusaur and it feels okay, that poison typing is what cripples Venusaur so bad. Crucially, Leafeon is defaultly faster than Venusaur, and Leafeon, being a physical attacker, gets access to knockoff, and knockoff is just way too good. Let me tell you my most common strategy here. So I will lead Charizard Y Leafeon, right? And then they'll go some common start, Frostlass, right? So instead of fighting for the weather and then trying to guess what speed tier, whether it's a bulky Frostlass that's going to set up a Roller Veil, instead of guessing, I just take knockoff on Leafeon. So what I do, I'll protect, they'll set up their weather, and then I'll Mega Charizard, I'll set up the sun. I have now a Chlorophyll double speed Leafeon that's going to knock off into the Frostlass, that's going to knock off into the Gengar. So it's either a Gengar that's not Mega and it's Focus Sash, and you just one-shot it because of knockoff, or it's a Frostlass that you got very, very close to one-shotting. You're going to take about 80% of the Frostlass HP. And as long as you win the Weather War, you get that Chlorophyll, you get the knockoff, so you're threatening the Frostlass, and then the Heat Wave will finish the Frostlass in case it's bulky, and then you'll kill the Ninetales that they typically put up as well. Ancient Power is also a pretty good mix-up on the Charizard into opposing Charizard-wise. Typically, they'll see the Leafeon, they'll realize, oh, this Leafeon also has Chlorophyll, similar to Venusaur. That means this Leafeon's going to hit first. So what do the Charizards try to do? They try to do a Tailwind set Charizard lead, and then they'll Tailwind the Charizard. They'll try to Heat Wave to hit the Leafeon before the Chlorophyll. So then on Leafeon, you just hit Detect, and then you Ancient Power the Charizard that just Heat Wave, and then they're dead, and now you get to take over the entire game. So Leafeon, Leafeon Charizard, a far superior lead to Venusaur Charizard lead. Way better Chlorophyll user just because Detect and Knockoff. And then I'm running the Scopeland, so I'm also doubling up on the crit ratios of X-Scissor and Leaf Blade. That bug comes up every now and then. It's not too common, but it's not bad either. Specifically, you need Scope Lens over Choice Scarf because the Chlorophyll already doubles your speed, right? You need the Scope Lens to crit the goddamn Blastoise, because Blastoise particularly, although you're super effective, although you're faster, Blastoise after a shell smash, or Blastoise in general, just has too much physical bulk that regular stab Leaf Blade will not break. You need Scope Lens. A lot of people are going to say I'm crazy, but I this is how I hit Masters. Okay, you do the damage calcs, you realize Leaf Blade isn't enough. You try it on Decidueye, you try physical Decidueye as a way to Spirit Shackle lock people, and then Leaf Blade into the Blastoise. You realize it's not enough. You realize that you can't have a fighting type in the face of Farigarath or Sneasler. Sneasler will one-shot the Chestnut. Farigarath will two-shot the Chestnut. It'd make it ever increasingly difficult for you to actually fight Blastoise. You might get faked out. You might not get faked out. Scope Lens, Leafeon, it's just the correct answer. You detect the fake out Blastoise. You let them set up Trick Room. Who gives a fuck? Then you protect Charizard turn 2, right? They eat a solar beam. They might live the solar beam, but they're not going to live the leaf blade. They're not going to live the leaf blade. It's not even like a super tech thing to do. It's just a really good lead. Gallade, I can't underestimate how good Focus Sash Gallade is. Because Focus Sash Gallade not only gives you the wide guard, get rid of the fast start, or set up your own tailwind with Skarmory. Everybody knows that Aerodactyl is the fastest tailwind setter in the game. A very common lead will be Aerodactyl Garchomp. And they're going to try to double Rock Slide Flinchy because they're faster than everything. And they're going to try to kill the Skarmory as fast as they can. A really easy way to prevent that double Rock Slide, double Flinch chance is to lead Focus slash Gallade. Wide guard, tailwind setup with your Skarmory. So there's like a couple things that can happen here, right? They can dual wave beak into the Gallade, which leaves your Skarmory open to Iron Head the Aerodactyl. Even if they Mega Ball, I think that it's a one shot. It's a one hit KO. You take one Rock Slide from the Garchomp. It might not take you to 50 most of the time because your defense is pretty high. And then, if at worst case scenario, they activate your Citrus Berry, and a double body press will kill the Garchomp after. Having Focus Slash on Gallade is really good because it forces the option. You either force a double up or you force a dual wing beat for them to lose the Aerodactyl. Then the only thing you have to beat after that is the Garchomp. You have multiple things to do that. You have Mega Floette, for God's sake. And you have a Alluring Voice on the Jolteon. And Alluring Voice will actually get Garchomp very close to 50% HP. Jolteon is one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. It could match the speed tier after the Tailwind set in order to actually get an Alluring Voice off, and then you kill it. Then you finish off the Garchomp with something else if it's bulky. That's kind of like the game plan, right? So Gallade, really good Wide Guard user. Sometimes people will Muddy Water Wind Condition. Sometimes people will Surf Wind Condition on the Pelipper, or the Politoed, or the Belly Bolt, or the Galarian Slowking is pretty common. We have Sharpness Gallade here because Psycho Cut actually does a ridiculous amount of damage. So Sharpness Psycho Cut will actually one-shot a Basket Legion if they have no bulk investment. It's weird because it resists Psychic. Honestly, I kind of just went over my openers right there. King Skarmory. It's King Skarmory, bro. King Skarmory. If you want to climb, get tech with Skarmory, bro. Mega Skarmory is pretty good. Stalwart is actually not that useful. There are some people that try to cheese you with Follow Me. A lot of people will understand that they're probably just gonna expect to Follow Me and one shot the Follow Me user anyways, while they boost up like Calm Mind, some shit. I don't know what the fuck they Calm Mind. Calm Mind is Spatra, right? They Follow Me, Mouse Hold, Calm Mind is Spatra to Baton Pass it to something else. Whatever. You got to kill that other threat in the back, right? But at least you're gonna get rid of the fucking Mouse Hold or the Clefable, right? Clefable is really slow, also weak to Skarmory. Whimsicott, also weak to Skarmory, right? I think every single Following Me user and every single Rage Powder user is weak to Skarmory, right? So why in God's name would you not run Skarmory? Mega Skullvillain, for example, is going to get one shot by a Brave Bird, but Mega Skullvillain is just there to basically take hits and apply burn, right? The Skarmory, like, he doesn't really care. It's your Tailwind Center, right? Once you take out the Rage Powder user, the Mega Skull Villain, or the Sinistra, you take out the Rage Powder user, you take out the Follow Me user with Stab Iron Head into Clefable. Even if your damage is reduced because you got burned, all you do is click Tailwind and pass, right? And then that's your whole game plan, right? Skarmory answers too many things for you not to experiment with Skarmory a little bit. All the Gen 2 diehards right here, you guys already know what King Skarmory is all about. But for those of you who don't know, start experimenting with a little bit of Skarmory. The base 160 defense body press is like nothing to joke about, dude. That's 30 points higher than my defense invested Meganium's body press. It will kill most things. It will kill King Gambit. Like, just take Skarmory. Skarmory resist King Gambit, will survive a Sucker Punch, will survive a Cleaver. All you got to do is hit Body Press and they die, right? Just take Skarmory, dude. Skarmory's too good. If you want to get to Masteries, start experimenting with Skarmory. He doesn't have to be your Tailwind Center, but just try him out a little bit. My Floette's not too different from most of the Floettes that are out there. We got Dazzling, we got the Moon Blasters to get around White Guard. We got the Tearful Look against the physical sweepers that we can't touch, like Aegis Slashers or something. Like, sometimes you'll get stuck with the Floette and they'll call you out and they'll like put an Aegis Slash in the back, or they put like a Toxapex or fucking Galarian Slowbro, stuff like that. Like, if you could get a Tearful Look off and then kill that thing with something else, that's what Tearful Look is for. But more often than not, if you see a poison type, you're probably not taking Mega Flow anyways. You'd rather take the Leafeon and just knock off the poison user. The Galarian Slowking, for example, is very common. You knock off the Galarian Slowking, you deal a chunk of damage. They can't take another one, but then you also knock off the leftovers, so that way when they come back with Regenerator, it's whatever. It's not that big of a threat anymore, right? It's gonna get one shot by anything, and it can't overheal. Knockoff into Sinistra is also pretty good. The knockoff is just good in general. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll protect Charizard into a Basculegion lead, and then you Leaf Blade the Basculegion or knock off the Basculegion. You're going to one shot the Basculegion. Doesn't matter how bulky it is. If we take a look at our Jolteon, it's just a simple magnet discharge detect. So it's very common for you to lead Leafeon and Jolteon at the same time. So that way, if it's a rain team like and they set up Pelipper or Chaladon, they have to decide, like, do they want to get knocked off so that way the Archaladon is easier to kill and then risk getting Alluring Voice after, or do they want to one-shot the Leafeon? You can detect Jolteon, knock off the leftovers from Archaladon, and then the very next play, you just hit Discharge on Jolteon, then you detect the Leafeon. So that way you're protected from the discharge. The Pelipper will get one shot or be brought down to Focus Slash. If you predict that this Pelipper is Focus Slash because like they're running like Thunder, they're like being very aggressive with their Hurricane use, then you're like, okay, this person's probably sashed, right? So then you can just essentially just knock off into the Pelipper and then discharge, and then Leafeon will survive more often than not. Leafeon will probably survive Jolteon's on discharge. Having the double detect here, they kind of protect each other, and it kind of like stalls the information that you give out, right? They don't know if you're Floette or Charizard yet. So if you want to conceal that information, the Jolteon Leafeon start is really good, and Jolteon's speed tier has just always been fantastic. I have zero speed investment. Jolteon's base speed on the special attack nature is 150. It's godlike. Like Jolteon discharge is actually fucking godlike. Alluring Voice comes up more often than not. The Garchomps typically won't expect the Alluring Voice, and they'll try to like Dragon Claw something else that they know that they can't Rock Slide into. If you lead Leafeon Jolteon, they want to Dragon Claw into the Leafeon, right? So then they don't expect the Alluring Voice, and then they can't take two Alluring Voices. So Jolteon is a ridiculous mon. Almost breaking 180 special attack. Magnet boosted discharge, magnet boosted electro web. All you need is to do a little bit of spread damage for something else to take over. Like say you lead Jolteon Charizard, right? So you electro web the enemy Charizard Y, they get slowed down, and then you ancient power, and then you win. You win that exchange, and then their jaw drops, and then you just win the game. You can also bait the Archaladon, right? So if you know that they're weak into Fairy, like they have a bunch of dark types like Incineroar and stuff like that in the back, and they lead Archaladon, what you can do is you can do a Floette start and a Jolteon start. They will try to do a Rain Setter like Politoed or something like that. You could just protect, bait the Flash Cannon, discharge, kill the Politoed, kill the Pelipper, and then just go to town from there and just switch out Floette. Don't even Mega Evolve it yet. Just fucking switch it out. This is somehow it's the most simple team, but it is my best team. Sometimes less is more. Less is more in this case. So that brings us to our final team. This is the team that I've edited the most. This is the team that has gone through the most iterations. The anchors in this team remain the same. Hisuian Arcanine, Decidueye, Scizor, and Sableye have not changed. Only the Mega slots have changed as flex starts. This core is actually kind of ridiculous. Decidueye is our Tailwind setter. Once you hit Ultra Ball 1, you have to kind of mix up what you're doing with Decidueye, but for the most part, you can use him as a choice Scarf Tailwind setter. Having a special set Decidueye, you need it. You need it, or else you will not kill. You will not one-shot Blastoise. You will not. There's just certain things that you will not one-shot unless you have a special set. Scizor particularly is becoming more and more popular. And this is because people don't want to play the weather coin flip, like who's going to be better at pivoting and anchoring at the end, who's going to end with the weather, who's going to start with the weather, who's going to have the breaking potential. Scizor is like the most anti-weather mega Pokemon that you can take. With Technician Priority Bullet Punch alone is so crazy good. The steel bug typing is just still phenomenal. It's still timeless. Scizor is like almost a perfect mon in that way. Of course, like when they introduce more Pokemon, Scizor will fall off more and more the closer we get to Gen 9. Like an actual true Gen 9 metagame. Again, right now we're kind of like in a combination of Gen 2 and Gen 5 strategies, right? But also we have Mega Pokemon. Really, it's like the Mega Pokemon are the breakers, but most of the strategies are built around like Gen 5, Gen 2 strategies. Scizor's the GOAT. Let's just say that right there. Scissor's the GOAT. So Scissor is like probably the best breaker in the game objectively. I'm gonna say that. I say that like people claim that Mega Floyd is the best Mega. It's Mega Scizor. People think that Mega Delphox had a lot of potential. It's Mega Scizor. Here, like Mega Gyarados and Gardevoir. Honestly, these could be any Megas. Before it was like Delphox and Skarmory. Initially, and then I got more experimental over time. Mega Gyarados actually resists a lot of things. If they're running no fairy types and they have no fairy type strategy, Mega Gyarados will beat everything for the most part. I have a Trick Room Gardevoir set, Mega Gardevoir with Hyper Voice. Pretty standard. There's not much to say there. Gardevoir is really good. So having a nice like potent breaker that has spread Dazzling Gleam or spread Hyper Voice is essentially like it's almost essential, right? It like people run Meganium for that reason, Sylveon for that reason is popular. Mega Fluette is like good for that reason. Gardevoir is the same thing. The difference is like you have a psychic typing, so that's ass. That's it. But Side Spam could win you a lot of games. Like surprisingly, Side Spam can actually win you a lot of games. A lot of the expanding force teams came out of the woodwork in season 2, like with the Mega Alakazam and stuff like that. They don't beat Choice Scarf Tailwind Decidueye or Choice Scarf Decidueye in general. You just fucking Shadow Ball into them and they die. Side Spam good, Psychic type bad. You know, you gotta pick your poison. So Gardevoir is just here because it's the late Hyper Voice. If we talk about Arcanine, Arcanine is also kind of the GOAT because Arcanine can actually beat a lot of rain teams because the majority of Pelipper sets, believe it or not, will just run Hurricane, Wide Guard, Protect, and then they'll double up on the Rain Dance or they'll take Thunder, right? And then they'll run a Focus Sash. Arcanine can Rock Slide through that, and that's kind of why Arcanine is good. Our Fairy resists fire types, right? Having access to Iron Head and being like a nice physically bulky sweeper is really good. Close combat will kill Arcanine, I will say that. You just gotta watch out for the close combat user. So as long as you kill the close combat user first, right? And you can do that by any means. You can do that with Gardevoir. You can do that with. That's typically like the game plan with this team. Kill the close combat thing, and then you win. Kill the thing with Surf, and then you win. Arcanine is really really good. It ends up you end up taking it more often than not. That's all I gotta say, dude. Stab Rock Slide under Rain is broken. It's so good. Essentially, you use the Sableye to praise or fake out Talonflame, then you Rock Slide it. There's not much to say there. Arcanine's also pretty up there. I think he's underused. Definitely underused. Like he's like the OU Mon. Should be Ubers, but isn't. And then Sableye. Sableye is one of the best support Mons in the metagame right now. You already know the set. It's max HP, max defense. I have my defenses equaling 107. And so it is standard Sableye set. Will-O-Wisp, fake out disable, foul play. Disable locking people is really good because typically you're gonna like this, you're gonna tailwind set with the Decidueye. That's already a sack, right? You're already planning to sack your tailwind setter most of the time. But those are the major talking points that I want to talk about in terms of like being able to reach masters. Where you want to conceal your information, you run your support mons with the intent of it's gonna die anyways, right? As long as you could diversify your support mons and your tailwind setters, similar to my composition, uniquely, right? I run the Talonflame, I run the Skarmory, I run the Decidueye. Very different from what other people have chosen to be their tailwind setters. And this all just has to do with the way you build around that type of advantage chart, right? So like Decidueye is bad into Noivern, right? You will get one shot by Air Slash Noivern and then they will tailwind second. The main reason why Decidueye is here is because most Incineroar will not attack into it. And if they do, you Focus Sash. But most of the time, what will happen is they'll lead a Sableye, they'll lead a Meowstic, they'll lead a fake out user, right? They'll Blastoise, and then you can't fake out Decidueye because it's a ghost type. That's the most crucial part of like this whole formula, is that because Decidueye has that ghost typing and is a tailwind setter, you can't be faked out. So Blastoise can't fake you out, Trick Room, and then just Water Spout kill you. You just Choice Scarf Leaf Storm into the Blastoise and they die. You can then Shadow Ball into whatever is actually the fake out user. The Decidueye is just extremely versatile. Being able to Choice Scarf Shadow Ball a Basculegion before it can even swing at you is pretty good. Like forcing them to flip turn is really good. Palafin, for example, right? They're just looking to flip turn, right? So as long as you can one shot them with Choice Scarf Leaf Storm, you'll one shot the Palafin before they can switch out and get that buff. Definitely a tailwind setter that people are not considering. I'm not saying that everybody should run it. This is like my personal style of tech option that I chose to run, but it's not something to sleep on, right? When you see a Decidueye, you're like, first, what the fuck is a Decidueye doing here? What do they plan to do? Right, you're already getting your opponent to guess the reason why you brought it in the first place, right? If they anchored it to a fake out strategy, then you just kind of completely dismantle their game plan. I'll catch you on the flip side. I actually don't know what my next video will be. It'll probably be a CDH Magic video because I really enjoy being pretty creative in that space as well. And then in the other channel for the Long Overdue podcast, the primaries are about to be up, so we're probably gonna have to talk about the midterms, and that's going to be a whole screwball thing. So you'll catch me over there at the Long Overdue podcast more consistently, and you might see a magic video here every now and then. With that, I'll wish you guys a nice day. Signing off.